My name is Mel Walker, and I steal cars for a living. I tell people I'm a repo man, though technically it isn't true. I work for a licensed repo man named Marshall. He gets the jobs and sends me out. I do all the work, and at the end of the day, he pays me under the table. In this line of business, everyone has a specialty. I prefer the classics. There isn't as much molded plastic to destroy. Some older cars, all I have to do is pop the hood and jam a screwdriver across the starter solenoid. Then I'm off, windows down and wind in my face. There isn't as much money in the older cars, but without a tow truck or specialized tools, they're just more practical. I've stolen dozens of cars, but there's one that stands out in my memory. It was a '74 Chevy Nova, baby blue with chrome trim and a gray interior. It wanted to pull a little to the right, but it purred like a jungle cat and it floated like a steamboat. I've driven way fancier cars, but I remember that Nova because the night I stole it was the night my life changed forever. I was cruising down the Louisiana Freeway between Slidell and New Orleans. I'd just pulled off the easiest job of my life, thanks to everyone celebrating Halloween. My heart pounded from the thrill of the getaway. I had a grin on my face that I couldn't wipe away. The night air felt cool and the nearly full moon lit up the sky, bright enough to illuminate the bushy trees lining the narrow highway. Some repo men partner up. One person acts as lookout while the other grabs the car. Or in more dangerous situations, one might offer up a distraction. I didn't work that way. For one thing, I didn't know anyone else interested in breaking the law on a regular basis. Most guys my age are either just starting college or, if they're particularly slow, finishing high school. For another, I didn't make enough money on these jobs and that I could afford to split it. I lived and worked comfortably alone. Relishing my solitary getaway, I twisted the dial of the radio. 40-year-old speakers squawked and chirped through inches of static. Not finding anything there, I shut it off and opened a window. Sharp evening air whipped my hair back and my eyes and made my eyes water. I rolled the window back up and checked myself in the rearview mirror. That's when I saw her. A woman sitting behind me in the back seat. She sat perfectly still, silent as a serial killer. "Shit!" I screamed and jumped in my seat. The wheel jerked in my hands. Tires squealed. The heavy blue vehicle hitched towards the center of the road. I used both hands to grip the steering wheel and both feet to stomp the brakes. The Nova spun and skidded off the road. Motes of dust swirled up in front of the car, dancing in the beams of the headlights. With the car stopped on the shoulder, I sat for several moments, breathing hard. My heart thumped against my ribcage. I'm not normally what you'd call high-strung. I speak a little slower than most and smile a little faster than the rest. As the dirt clouds settled around the Nova, I wondered what made me so jumpy. Finding a strange woman in a stolen car is startling, but it shouldn't have made me lose control. Surprises are part of the job. I sat still, listening to the steady hum of the engine. No other sounds in the car except my breathing and my heartbeat in my ears. Did I imagine the woman? I didn't want to look in the mirror to check, but just thinking about it pulled my eyes up. My heart skipped a beat. She still sat behind me, undisturbed by our spin out. Something about her twisted my stomach in knots. Just a young woman in a simple dress, but seeing her made it hard to breathe, like staring down from a great height or coming face to face with a black widow. It took me a moment to realize why. I could see through her. As she sat there, patient as the grave, I could see the back seat through her transparent skin. I tried to speak, but I couldn't think straight. Pure animal panic ran through me. Had I pissed myself? I let my hand slide to the inside of my crotch. Still dry for now. "You can see me?" the young woman asked, still not moving. I nodded, unable to form words. I stared into my rearview mirror, trying to accept the reality my eyes presented. "You just sat there ignoring me all night. I was trying to think no one could see me." In the dark of night, things tend to lose their color. Dark cars become universally black in the absence of light. Rainbows don't exist in shadow. The woman in the back seat looked like she'd stepped out of an old black and white movie. Colorless, medium-length hair touched her shoulders. She wore a dress of white and off-white. Light and shadow defined her pale skin. I took in all of the details of her, still seeing the coal gray vinyl of the back seat on the other side of her. Some part of my brain began to rationalize. There had to be a reasonable explanation for everything. She must have been sleeping in the back seat when I stole the car. I could have overlooked her until she woke up and startled me. And her transparency, her unnatural lack of color, an optical illusion created by the rearview mirror. She couldn't be a ghost. Ghosts weren't real. I turned to look at her directly and found the backseat empty. Shit,